Hello everyone, Maryann here, revealing light, tarot, astrology and spirituality. Wherever you are in the world when you're watching, a huge shout out to you. I'm a little bit shattered today. I spent most of yesterday, since the Trump government dropped bombs on 3 nuclear facilities in Iran, escalating the war in the Middle East beyond what some would say is containable. We'll see about that. I've been, monitoring the situation, working to inform people on my social media accounts. All of those are in the drop-down menu underneath my video, and trying to make sense out of so many competing narratives, I guess, but so many complexities in this, so many anomalies, so many things that don't add up. Suffice to say that on the ground there is a huge point on which left and right agree. No more wars. Now, I know there are certain MAGA people who are falling into line, spouting Trump's talking points, but I've seen huge influences with huge accounts coming out and saying that Trump has betrayed them because he's taken America into war or into some sort of action that is something that he said he wouldn't do. He's broken an election, a big election promise. There was a story planted that J.D. Vance had come out and said no, the US didn't want to be dragged into this war. That's I think now has been debunked, and it's like a planted story, a little bit like playing good cop, bad cop. The only real voice in the Republican Party that is, well, there's been a couple, Rand Paul and, of course, Thomas Massie, coming out and saying this is another weapons of mass destruction. Short story, both sides of the political spectrum are agreeing that the US, nor its allies, of which Australia was one, I guess is one, I don't know, has said that no more wars. We don't want our sons and our daughters being dragged into conflicts that have nothing to do with us, that are so far away. The aggression wasn't begun by us. No more wars. And of course there are protests there going on in American streets and other countries around the world too. We are in agreement. No more wars. So, having said all that, what do I think intuitively is going on? My last reading, I guess some people probably thought, what's she going on about? Regime change, predicting regime change in Iran. Yes, well, Trump's now come out and said that that's his aim, but also predicting regime change in Israel. Well, if Netanyahu announces at some point in the future that he's stepping aside, if his cabinet disintegrates and Israel's faced at the end of this in the rubble with having to choose new cabinets, new governments, new prime ministers, then you can come back and say you were right, Maryann. Is this a cosplay? There's all sorts of questions. The attack was didn't obliterate the nuclear sites. It was quite precise in the damage that it did. And then we have, on the other hand, the International Nuclear Agency is confirming the US's own intelligence that Iran was nowhere near having a nuclear weapon. So, there's all these things in the mix, and it would be understandable if you said, well, I don't know what's true. Well, here let's just look at the facts. The US, Israel, initiated an attack on Iran. Iran retaliated. We've been hearing these stories about Iran having a nuclear weapon since the 1990s. We know that they haven't. That's a fact. And we know that Trump took the US into an attack on those nuclear facilities. Very, very volatile attack, could have caused an absolute disaster. Didn't obliterate them, as he said. Anyway, we also know that some MAGA have fallen into line, but there are a lot that haven't, that have said he betrayed us. So we know all that's going on. Let's just start in the cold, hard light of day. Let's sort of just stop and get our bearings. I didn't think that the US would go into full all-out war with Iran. Okay, that's been what the cards have been saying up until this point. I did say that he might give some sort of aerial support to help Israel when the attacks on Israel became so bad that he had to do something. I didn't expect him to to stage this bombing of the nuclear facilities. But there again, as I said, there's not been the damage that he's saying that there is. That's a lie. They haven't been obliterated. So, right, where will we start? Okay, I guess with the real pressing question. Is Iran going to attack US bases? Because if this is a orchestrated, coordinated regime change thing from within, including in Israel, then it shouldn't really escalate. However, we have other things in the mix. This could be a strategy that doesn't account for China's position or Russia's position, or it's the volatility of the region. It's a high-risk strategy if it is indeed a strategy. So let's just start. Will Iran attack US bases? So as I understand it, non-essential personnel have been taken out of that region now. Only essential personnel are left on the bases. All right. Will Iran attack US bases? Will Iran attack US bases? Will Iran attack US bases? So I'm seeing fighters with those, rocket type of propellers. I'm wondering if an attack comes from some other country. All right, so we get the Ten of Cups, which is families. Odd card to come up, and the Page of Pentacles. So this page is indicating that some thought is going into, the pentacle is security and stability of families. So that could indicate they've been removed, that there is a preparation for attacking. We have the past at the basis of this reading, and so the past speaks to what might have happened in the past, that in a similar sort of a situation. We have the show of strength in the past, in the actual recent past. That would be the attacks on the nuclear facilities. We have a manifestation here in the sky. So potentially they could, okay? I'm not saying that they will. But we get the Queen of Wands in the immediate future. And that speaks to, the page talks about preparations or the seed of something being planted. The Queen of Wands talks about an assessment, bringing all those things together. An assessment of whether this is going to be in the best interests of I guess, of everybody, or including Iran. There seems to be some sort of assessment of the fallout from doing that. And then we move to the King of Wands, of course, which, they would do it. That's stepping forward bravely and boldly. I think Iran is still deciding at this time, in the immediate future anyway, their options. Okay. So we have a great deal of anxiety here. Sleepless nights, I can attest to that. And the Ace of Wands, a plan, and the seed of a plan taking place. they are blocking the Strait of Hormuz, where 20% of the world's oil supplies go through the Strait of Hormuz. They control a narrow strip there, so they've blockaded that. Ships are turning around. They've done this before. US ships in the Iraqian war shepherded those oil vessels through the straits, but they've actually blocked it. It wouldn't surprise me if China, for example, might assist them in blocking that, because I think this is a bargaining chip for them. The wheel of fortune in the hopes and fears change. Are they going to attack? It's not, no. At this point, they are still assessing, and I make this clear because when I predict, it's not a textbook open and shut case. It's like, give it time to play out. At this point, when I'm looking at these cards today, there feels like a suspension of something, time out, like a looking at all parts of the equation. I don't think at this point they're going to do that, okay? And I'm just reading these cards. There is a potential for it to occur, but I think certain dominoes have to be in place before they would do that. Because if they do that, that's all-out war with the US. Being patient, something coming to fruition in time, and we have a deal. Okay, let's go to the Strait of Hormuz, because I could be right, I could be wrong. I would say my strike rate's around about 80% right, and then 20% is very nuanced around, let's give it a little bit of time. I said they wanted regime change in Iran. Trump has come out with a tweet today and said that's what they would like to see. And he's used the acronym MIGA, Make Iran Great Again. Oh my God. Oh my God. Again, an American government interfering in a sovereign country's government to effect regime change. It's no different to what George Bush did. It looks like Iran comes to some sort of deal with America in the longer term. Now, this is, as I said, a moving puzzle here. We've got all these anomalies going on. Why didn't the strike do more? Why did he strike at this time when Iran was still at the negotiating table and in fact was in Europe, in Geneva, negotiating when the strike took place? So this leader's saying go back to the negotiation table. They didn't ever leave the negotiation table. So many truths need to come forward, and they will come forward in time. And this is the stuff of history. Rarely do we get our judgments right when things first happen. It's like, let's see how it all is unpacked. But I can say this from my reading today. I think they're assessing their opportunities at this point. They do end up doing a deal with the US. So let's see what that could be. All right. Let's just go a little bit further along the track. Will the US escalate? Now we have the other side of the equation. Iran is assessing its options. It's very clear-eyed. Iran's foreign minister is in Russia today. Russia has come out and said, the Prime Minister of Russia has said that they would give Iran a nuclear weapon. Kim Jong-un has said they will give Iran a nuclear weapon. So, let's see. Will the US escalate its war on Iran? Okay, that's a fairly... I have to be very careful with my questions as well. Will the US attack Iran again in the near future? Will the US attack Iran again in the near future? They may take action on the Strait of Hormuz. Something to do with water. Will the US attack Iran again in the near future? Will the US attack Iran again in the near future? There's certainly, yeah. Okay, so there's some kind of clandestine thing here. Maybe some kind of stealth thing that they're going to do. Maybe to one of the ships blockading, something like that. It's a stealth attack via water. I see divers. Could have something to do with taking out one of Iran's ships. I don't know. That's what clairvoyantly I'm seeing. We're getting a lot of anxiety here and a plan here. And we get the Queen of Wands again. Again, it's not only Iran assessing their options, it's the US as well. So we have 3 cups lost, 1 remaining. They prefer to do a deal. No one wants a war. I can probably, we know that the midterms are going to be a bloodbath for the Republican Party already. And this, if there is this war, would make it even worse. We have the Wheel of Fortune, change, some kind of change. And we get loss, walking away from what no longer serves us. We get stability and economic stability too. I don't know the dollar figure of the cost of dropping those bombs on the nuclear facilities and that whole operation, but there's a economic consideration here as well. And we have Russia. Now, what do we know about Trump and Vladimir Putin's relationship? We know they're very close. There's an economic consideration, okay, that they're making. This is not, everything's an economic consideration. The World card in the hopes and fears, the end of something and the beginning of something new. Now, here's where it gets uncertain. The Moon card is volatility. It's absolute and utter volatility. It's things coming up from the water. Okay, and the Chariot. Okay, they are going to do something, and I think, and then we get Temperance and moderation. I think this might be around, as I said, the Strait of Hormuz. We have the King of Cups, security through wisdom, and we get something coming to fruition in time. But we have the Five of Swords, which is sabotage, and we have the Tower. So I'm going to say they are planning something else. And this is where the volatility of the Middle East comes into play. Trump might, if he has a strategy, may think he's got this under control, but this is not under anyone's control. Okay, all right. There's a lot of volatility. I see that there is something they do to unblock the Strait of Hormuz. Am I correct there? Are they going to attack in order to free up the Strait of Hormuz? Are they going to attack to free up the Strait of Hormuz? Okay, that wants to come out. I think that's, it's indicative of the political divisions here that are existing for the Republicans. Any further attacks, there's so much volatility and division internally in the US. So that's why they're desperate for Iran to come to the table again. Please, even though we bomb the bejesus out of you, come to the table again. Come to the table again. They are, you can see it in their eyes. Please, Iran, come to the table. Let's see. Okay. So, are they going to take action to unblock the Strait of Hormuz? Are they going to take action to unblock the Strait of Hormuz? Or are they desperate for a deal? Okay, so with the Queen of Cups, self-care, looking after themselves, but we get the apprenticeship card again here. They're preferring diplomacy, obviously. But get the World card, the ending of something, a new beginning. So whenever I see that World card, I go, okay, we've got to take this seriously. This isn't, it's a yes card, but it's something else as well. So we get, obviously, the Four of Pentacles. This could also be, again, influencing this economic question. The US can't afford to have the price rises. The economy is fairly fragile there. All of our economies are fairly fragile. But we get manifesting something. I think, yes. I think at the end of the day, we have the Empress, which is also abundance, a season of time. They want to make a deal. Okay, he's talking to Putin and trying to leverage Putin to get Iran to the table again. He desperately needs a deal. Okay, the Wheel of Fortune, in the hopes and fears, good change, but we get the Moon card again. And after all that shuffling in the outcome position again, it's kind of confirmation that they will have to unblock the Strait of Hormuz. It's not something they want to do, but, they are restricted in what they can do economically as well. They can't afford to go to war, politically or economically, a full-scale war in the Middle East, fighting Iran, its proxies, etc. They want this done peacefully. Regime change, both sides of it. They can't have Netanyahu there like a 200-pound bomb himself. They're trying to get this peace in the Middle East, but the truth is that the situation is not within their control. I think they are forced to doing something. If the one plan doesn't work, they need to go to another plan, and we get it's heavy decisions, but this whatever they do takes them further down the pathway into economic. This is not good for the US economy. Whatever, I don't know. I don't have access to the forecasts there that they're hearing within the White House. Within the White House. But if they go down this route, they need to go down this route economically. But if they go down this route and get drawn into a full-scale war, then that economically, it is a war they can't afford. Perhaps they should have controlled Netanyahu a long time ago. If you look at the APEC tracker on X, you can see which politicians have accepted millions and millions and millions of dollars, according to Common Dream, which is a independent news site. APEC, which is the Jewish lobby group, spent over $100 million on the 2024 elections. All politicians. There's only about 10% who didn't receive big donations, and those 10% have come out and voiced their concern or their opposition to the humanitarian lines that have been crossed in Gaza. No doubt about that. Okay, so to summarise, looks like they're going to be forced into unblocking the Strait of Hormuz. All right, so will Iran, let's just go to Russia and China. The Trump government's in a rock and a hard place, to say the least, and has dragged Americans through volatility, through a lack of clear sight, through I think Trump's instability dragged America into a pretty much a no-win position. I think that's a fact we can all agree on. Okay, so people are rightly angry. All right, Will Iran get a nuclear warhead from another country? It's simple. China just flies their plane in and delivers one. Okay, so will Iran get a nuclear weapon? As the Prime Minister of Russia and Kim Jong-un have threatened, will Iran get a nuclear weapon from another country? May have already got one. Loans and debt and a helping hand. I think my intuition is right. It may already have something. All right, so the Five of Pentacles. Five of Pentacles is being left out in the cold. So financially, money. The Page of Swords, that in the past, and so this is not new. I think there's been talk about this for a while. And then we have the Empress card, which is potentially Russia could do this. Here and now we have an offer from another government. We see that. We have an inevitability in the hopes and fears. And we have fighting. Okay, so it is sort of like the last card in the pack. Overseas, foreign, waiting for one ship to come in. They may not have it yet, but there's certainly been talks about it. I see, we have the King of Pentacles, which is business, money, and hope. I see that potentially Russia's already spoken about this before they said it. This is nothing new. They will, if they haven't got it now, because Iran is waiting for their ship to come in, if they haven't got it now, there is a line that, when a line is crossed, then this could, they could have something. Russia certainly wasn't lying when they said we could give them a warhead. They have the most nuclear weapons in the world, thousands upon thousands, more than the US. No wonder the Trump government is so desperate. All right. There's not even any right or wrong. It's simply about money and power. We know that Trump is allied to the Gulf countries. Okay, but he also is allied to Putin. So, at this point, have they got a nuclear weapon from another country? I think there's only been talk about it, but there may have been a promise made to them. If you help us, we'll help you if a certain line is crossed. Okay, so that is something that the Trump government and Israel need to factor into account. For all the bombing of nuclear facilities, they could be given a nuclear weapon by another friendly ally. Okay, I want to see if China will help block the Strait of Hormuz. Will China help block the Strait of Hormuz? All right, so we have sabotage, we have abuse of power, we have defending oneself. I think China's already helping Iran. I think they've got 2 spy ships there fighting. Looks like they're already helping 3. There are 3 already helping Iran, and that would be China and Russia. Potentially, China could help, but we see a holding back here. So China's not going to, they're very clear-eyed. They're the only one who's saying, condemning an attack on a sovereign country, and, speaking about the lack of proof that they have nuclear weapons, and speaking about the need to de-escalate, get out of other countries' affairs, respect sovereignty, respect the UN Charter, because Israel and America broke the UN Charter. So we have the Queen of Pentacles, stability, building something. helping to build something. There's 3 players here. In the hopes and fears, we have retreat, wounded in battle. Okay, China has or will be giving them money. Okay, the High Priestess, something we don't know, an offer or a deal. China is going to come out publicly and offer Iran a huge helping hand. There's already been negotiations here. Without a doubt, China will help Iran. Okay, let's ask, given all these things coming to pass at this time, that's why we're having sleepless nights, will there be all-out war in the Middle East leading to World War III? That's a question I've not wanted to ask. Because, sometimes it comes from our anxiety more than anything else. 8 of Cups is upturned here. And I think the 9 of Swords is upturned. Well, I'll get to that. All right, will there be all-out war? Will there be World War III in the Middle East? It's sort of a bit like... So something's coming down a chute. It's a warhead coming down a chute. Military equipment is being delivered to Iran. The intelligence agencies should know that. Will there be all out? I think what they're going to try and do is put Iran into such a position that it has a deterrent, and that Israel and the US will try and back off without actually going into a full-scale war. It's a bit like the Cuban crisis, but with China, Russia in the mix. Interesting, I wonder where the Gulf states sit in all of this. They're very westernised in many ways, but they still have deep ties to Russia. Okay, all right, so will there be a world war? Show me clearly. I know there could be pockets of fighting going on here, because I'm seeing that 5 of Wands, which is the escalation and the fighting, the bombing. So I'm seeing that. Will there be World War III? And you know what I mean by World War III. We all get drawn into it. Will there be World War III in the Middle East? I'm getting a lot of light coming in here, so there is hope here. There's a flashpoint. The 8 of Pentacles comes up a lot, and that is somebody who's still learning. The 8 of Pentacles is still, it's the apprenticeship card. It's somebody that has to undergo an initiation of to learn how to do something well. And then we get isolation. Like they're not yes cards in the signifier placements. We get the Queen of Swords as the foundation. Objectivity and planning is at the key here. We need so much reform in this world. The 4 of Wands, which is the unity card here, reconciliation card, is in the past. I see that the US is isolated at this time. We get more likely to have the potential for deals being done. So this is all about leverage and deals at this stage, and deals being done, and relationships. So not in the immediate future, goodness gracious. Right now we get it. We have this sense of betrayal and brokenheartedness. And we have wisdom in the environment around. Thank God wisdom is prevailing. No country can act out, whether it be Russia or the US or Israel or Iran or whoever it is, can act outside the UN Charter. Hopes and fears. Okay, so Russia is the fear here, but also it's the damage that World War III would do to the world economy. Remember, follow the money. Something coming in to fruition in time, being patient, and we get Knight of Wands. I think there will be, because after the page preparation there is some kind of Somebody's going to put troops somewhere into a country. Now, Netanyahu has said he's thinking about sending the IDF into Iran. What stupidity. It's like walking away from there. Okay, thank God. Thank God. Thank you, God. I don't think there's full-scale war in the Middle East. The troops somewhere engage, but it's walking away from what no longer serves us at this point, and a new start. I don't see World War III in the Middle East. After this reading, I do see things moving forward, but also the potential to get out of control. When I say I don't see World War III, I do see some troops engaging. We come very close, but the world endings and new beginnings and the past. And so this, as I said, is like a past situation where we become very much more to the brink, but we pull away from that. The Eight of Cups, and then we have this new start, the potential for deals to be done. So this is a moving chess piece. Yeah. Okay. This is right now about leverage. Who's got it? It's not a simple case of pretend weapons of mass destruction, and then you know, the US puts boot on the ground and draws everyone else in with them. It's not as simple like that. If you think that's going to be the way that it's going to, that's not how it's going to go. There will be some troops somewhere coming into conflict, whether that's Israel and Iranian troops or whether there's something that occurs. Watch the Strait of Hormuz. There is a US effort to unblock. We also have Russia and China increasing their leverage for Iran as well. So it'll be very much like the Cuban Missile Crisis. There's going to be very, very, very tense there. But at some point, deals are done. Iran gets what it wants. It's not coming under, it's not going to cease to exist like Iraq. Iran will survive. There will be, as I said, I'm still going to stick to those predictions. There will be part of these deals that are being done. Khomeini might step aside. He's 86, and I'd say it's not going to be a puppet master in there. It could be the existing president of Iran takes complete control. And in Israel, I'm afraid, I'll do a reading on Israel's future. In Israel, I'm afraid that Netanyahu also, and it'll be a good thing, will go, and the Israelis can experience some peace if they want it. If they want the peace, then they can have it. But we're in a very volatile position at this time, and this is today's reading. We are that close. Anything could happen. But if this goes as I foresee it, we will avoid World War III. So right now, take a break. It's not within our control. I may be right, I may be wrong. But at least we can see a potential for how this might play out without ending up in World War III. At least there's a potential for that. Take that, switch off your computer, and go and get some rest. Bye for now.